Hi everyone, welcome to today's live feed. Now, while I'm talking, you should see down the bottom some little figures. If you're watching, can you press on the thumbs up or the heart or the little faces? And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can pop an angry face up, I don't mind. But if you keep popping up those little faces, I'll keep talking. If no one's watching and no one's pressing on those little faces down the bottom, I'll stop talking because I'll know that nobody's listening or that you're bored with what I'm saying. I know I can ramble, I know I can go on and on about stuff, and some people get very bored. So if you're not interested, stop pressing the little face figures or the little thumbs up and the hearts. But if you are interested, keep pressing them so that I know that people are watching. Now, a couple of things. I was going to talk to you today about solids and about food texture. I sent a newsletter out the other day talking about weaning and talking about what you need for weaning and when to start solids. I recommend people start solids at 16 weeks. Now, I'm not really going to take questions during this talk today. I might at the end go and have a look at some questions. So please, if you have a question relating to what I am saying, you're welcome to pop it up. But I'm not going to take hundreds of questions because I want to make this about information. So I sent a newsletter out on maybe Monday or Tuesday. The newsletters are really, really important. Hold on one sec. This little guy, the newsletters are very important. Make sure you go on our website and you sign up for the newsletters. This little guy, Elsie Elephant Grey, he is retiring because a new batch is coming, and the new batch, people preferred the tiny bit longer fur, and people begged us to bring out the longer fur. They didn't like the short fur. So on the new batch, the fur is going to be a tiny, tiny, minute bit longer. But my 2-year-old Kieran has rejected it. So we're going to keep some of these in stock for children who reject the new ones. But please be aware that this guy is retiring and his replacement, the 2017 model, is coming out, which will be slightly different. If you sign up for the newsletters, you will hear this very important information. The other thing is, on the newsletter we sent out on Wednesday, we said that we were going to send you a free Anyway Up cup. If you spent over $80, you got a free Anyway Up cup. But you needed to put in the promotion code boy or girl. This is a cow cup. Boy or girl. Now, if you're not signed up for the newsletter, you're going to miss out on these promotions. And you can't just do an order of $80 and think that the dispatch are going to know that they have to send you a cup. You need to follow the instructions on the newsletter and put the code in to get your free something, okay? Now, these cups are fantastic. Anyone who has this type, once you put the lid on, remember you have to press that to push some air out the spout to seal it. So remember to press that. This one has the lid for going out and about if you're traveling. And we are giving a free cow one away with every purchase until Friday over $80, but you need to put the promotion code of boy or girl in to receive your cup, okay? Now these, I've been using these for about 25 years. They are the best cup in the market. They've sold billions worldwide. Once you start using one of these, you will never go back. So have a look at those. Now, I'll talk about solids. So, with solids, I recommend you start your baby on solids at 16 weeks. The newsletter on Tuesday said this. I got emails from people saying, I'm confused because I heard you're not supposed to start solids until my child holds his head up, and my 16-week-old baby cannot hold his head up. Now I say 16 weeks and 5.5 kg. If your child is under 5.5 kg, you don't start solids. If your child was prem, you get my feeding book, and you look in the feeding book at when to start solids. You start at different ages depending on how premature your baby was. So you need to look in there to find out that. Now, you cannot wait till your child can hold the head up, because most children can't hold the head up till they're about 9 months. So that recommendation is not very good as far as I can work out. When I moved to Australia, I said to people that, I always said to start solids at 16 weeks, but everyone in Australia was saying, no, start solids at 6 months, start solids at 6 months. So when my first book came out, when the baby book came out, so when my first book came out, I said to people to start solids between 4 and 6 months, and lots of people started solids closer to 6 months. What happened was we saw a massive increase in allergies with my client base, and also catnapping and night waking kicked in my client base. So I realised this was a big mistake and I needed to go back to recommending solids at 16 weeks. The interesting thing is, there's a lady in Melbourne who I feel like is a mentor of mine, Dr. Katie Allen. She's one of the biggest allergy doctors. If anybody is worried about when they're starting their baby on solids, I ask you to go and have a look at what Dr. Katie Allen has to say. Because she talks about Australia being the capital of allergies in the world. We've got more allergies than anywhere else. So I really truly believe part of the way to avoid allergies is to start solids at 16 weeks. It's not easy if your child has allergies. I was chatting, if anyone does have a child with allergies who's of school age, I was chatting to a friend of mine who's an ambulance officer the other day, and she actually gave us a really good tip. She told us that if your child carries an EpiPen and has known allergies and has presented to hospital with severe, I can't say anaphylactic, but I'm trying to say it, allergies, a good thing if you've got a school-age kid, a good thing to do is, I know this might seem a bit crazy if you don't have school-age kids now, but note this for if you've got a baby with allergies for when your child starts school. If your child's going away on school camp, it's really, really difficult. You can do everything in your power to make sure you can send your own food, etc., but you can never be 100% sure what your child's going to get exposed to if they're away on school camp. So a really good tip is to write a letter to the local ambulance branch saying to them, my child's coming on school camp, my child's going to be staying here on this date. This is my child's action plan. This is what my child's allergies are. My child has presented at hospital, here is their information, and tell them as much as you can. Put it in a letter and send it to the local ambulance station so that then if they do get called out to your child, they know already what they're going to. They don't think it might be an allergy. They know exactly what they're going to, what the allergy is, and what your action plan is. Really good tip that I heard a few weeks ago when I was chatting about allergies. So anyway, back to solids. I say to start solids at 16 weeks. Again, noting whether they're Prem or 5.5 kg. That's all in the book. I notice at about 18, 19 weeks, children reduce the amount of milk they are drinking. They reduce this milk regardless. So if you've started solids or you haven't started solids, they are going to reduce the milk regardless. People who start solids at 16 weeks contact me at 18 weeks and say, oh, my child's dropped the amount of milk they're having. I think it's because of the solids. It's not because of the solids, it's a milestone. All babies, regardless of whether they have or haven't started solids, drop their milk intake at about 18 weeks. So please don't think there's a connection. What do we do about this? We give them solids, because if your child drops their milk intake at about 18 weeks, if you've started solids at 16 weeks, you can add express breast milk or infant formula, only ever stage 1. I never recommend any other stage apart from stage 1. Use stage 1 infant formula from 0 to 14 months. So I recommend that. Add the infant cereal, add infant cereal to their solids, plus add the milk. So add the infant cereal plus your express breast milk or formula to their solids to increase their milk intake. So that's what I recommend. Now, why do we do baby-led weaning? Well, baby-led weaning is a new fad that's going around. I don't truly believe it is a good thing. It's good to a certain degree. So baby-led weaning is when you allow your child to show interest in food and you give them the food you're eating. So if your child of 18 or 19 weeks is looking at the food on your table, you hand it to them and they eat that. They don't fill up. We cannot get enough food into a baby if we do baby-led weaning. I do a mixture of baby-led weaning and what I would call the correct introduction of solids. So I give your baby solids. You give them a bowl of their first course, which might be Australian pumpkin pureed with rice cereal and milk, or it might be carrots pureed with rice cereal and milk. When I say rice cereal, I don't mean white rice, I mean brown rice. I recommend Rafferty's Garden Organic Brown Rice Cereal. I don't recommend homemade rice cereals because you cannot get enough iron into them. Children need iron from 16 weeks. So we put the rice cereal in and we give them that course first, and then we follow that course with a sweet course like apple or pear. When they have finished that, you then do the baby-led weaning. So I do still do baby-led weaning but I call it food off the family table. And only when your child has eaten their solids to fill them up, enough solids to help them sleep through the night, only when they've had that food do you then give them the baby-led weaning. So you give them carrots to chew on. You might give them a pork chop to chew on. You can give lots of food from very early on when you're doing the baby-led weaning approach. And you do that, you give them the food off the family table to help expose them to lots of foods to help reduce the chance of your child having allergies. But I do a mixture. So if people are telling you to do baby-led weaning, we do baby-led weaning, but we do it from the family table and we do the other food first. Now you go to your maternal health nurse at about 7 or 8 months and she says to you, oh, it's time now to swap your milk and your solids food around. I think the reason why you're told this is, I think a lot of the maternal health nurses work out of a book and this is what you've got to do at all these different stages. I think the problem is the normal way people do solids in Australia is they normally give the food first and then they give the milk second, but I don't do that. I give the milk first and I give the food second. If you give the food first and the milk second, what happens is the baby fills up on the food and then the baby doesn't have enough space for milk. So I don't do it that way. So when you go to your maternal health nurse and they say it's time to swap it round, they want you to get the solids to breakfast, lunch and dinner time and have the milk at other times. But you're already doing that on my approach. So you're doing milk at 7, solids at 8, milk at 11, solids at 12. If you swap it around, you're going to be doing breakfast at 7, lunch at 11. Well, you don't want to do that because you want to do breakfast at 8 and lunch at 12. But because the maternal health nurse doesn't have time to chat to you and work out what you're actually doing, they just have to tell you what they tell everybody. Normally people do it the other way, which means if you swapped it, it would become it would become lunchtime, but we already have it at lunchtime. Now, the other thing that you often get told to do at about 8 or 9 months is introduce lumps. I disagree with this. If you're feeding your baby solids, you're feeding them nice puree, really texture of nice smooth solids, and suddenly you put some lumps in. So let's say you're feeding them something like chicken casserole or pureed, and suddenly you leave some peas in. Your baby's going to be sucking the chicken casserole, and then they get a pea and they go, what's that? And they choke. They gag. They don't really choke, but they gag. They get the pea stuck in their throat. They don't know what it is. They get all upset and they get worried. It can put them off food. I do not agree with changing the texture of a baby's food at early as 7, 8 or 9 months because you confuse the child. They get scared and they stop eating and they start refusing to eat. It's really important that you continue to give them puree and then you give them mash texture at about 10 months. You don't need to worry about them not getting the right chewing motion and stuff happening because you're giving them the food from the family table, which is baby-led weaning. You're giving them bits of a pork chop to chew on or a lamb chop to chew on. You're giving them a bit of apple to bite on. You're giving them a carrot stick to chew on after they've eaten their main food. You're giving them a bread stick to chew on after they've eaten their main food. So you are doing a form of baby-led weaning. They are getting different textures. They are getting to chew food. They are getting to bite food, give them bits of pasta and so on. But only do it after they have had their full meal. Otherwise, you cannot get enough food into them to help them get through the night. Now, I'm just going to have a look on my phone, which always looks a bit rude, but I'm just going to have a look on my phone and see what questions have come in and see if there's any quick questions in relation to starting solids. All those little things down the bottom, the hearts and the thumbs up and the I'm watching, they've all disappeared. Please can everybody type where they're watching from and put up those little figures so I know that you're watching. Otherwise, as I said, I'm going to stop talking. Because if I don't think you're watching, I'm going to stop talking and go back to work so I'm not boring anybody. So let's see. It says that we've got 8 comments. Let's see if any of these comments are questions. Let me turn the volume down so that it's not playing over the other one. Okay. Mina says, I'm watching. Thanks, Mina. Lynn says, question on the new book. Why the change from introducing veggies on their own to including milk and rice cereal in during lunch and dinner? That's not new, Lynn. I've always recommended that. I don't know why you think that that's new. Maybe it wasn't clear. Maybe it's clearer in the feeding book than in the baby book. But I've always recommended that. So it is to make sure that the milk intake is up. So you say, why veggies now mixed with rice cereal? Is it okay that I only use rice cereal and milk in the mornings? Well, if your child, Lynn, is getting enough breast milk or getting enough formula, and if your child's sleeping through the night, then yes, it is. If it's not broken, you don't need to fix it. But if your child isn't sleeping through the night, or if your child, if you think their milk intake is down considerably, then you do need to add it. When you say new, I think you mean in the feeding book as opposed to the baby book. It's just because the feeding book has got much more information in it. So you've got the baby book, which touches on routines and touches on sleep problems. You've then got the feeding book, which is a really, really good book to buy somebody as a gift. If you know somebody who you're not sure if they want to do a routine and you're not sure if they would be into, routines and teaching the baby how to sleep, the feeding book's the ideal gift because it teaches them how to avoid sleep problems. It teaches you how to demand feed properly without causing sleep problems. And it also teaches you how to breastfeed from day one. It gives you little tips like when the baby's born, put the baby on your chest and let it find the breast itself. And so that book is a really good gift. And then the toddler book is good from about 9 months. As soon as your child starts to move, you use the toddler book. The toddler book is good from about 9 months. Okay? And if you have got sleep problems in a child over 1, start off with the toddler book. Okay. Trudy Yates says, I'm stuck on the couch at my 13-week-old. It's nice to have something to watch. Thanks, Trudy. It's congratulations, and it's nice that you're enjoying watching it. Anita says, my 19-week-old doesn't like solids. He keeps pushing the food out with his tongue every time I try it. Well, that's normal. So you take the spoon and you put the food in and hold the spoon in your little one's mouth. So let me just show you for a sec. So you take the spoon and you put it into your baby's mouth, and you hold it in there and you leave it in there so that your baby can suck the food off the spoon. Then you take the spoon out. The baby will spit the solids out. You take the spoon and you just scoop the solids back up and you just put it back into your baby's mouth. I know it sounds a bit gross, but it's what you do to teach your baby to eat. And then you hold it in there and then you slowly take the spoon out after they've sucked the food off. And then again, they'll spit it out. You just give it a little bit of a wipe and back in it goes. And you keep doing that. Now, some people find... So what happens is a baby is used to a bottle and you put the bottle in their mouth and they go suck, 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 suck. Or the breast, they're used to a breast and you put the breast in their mouth and suck, 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 and they get a continuous flow of food. Some children, when you start solids, get really, really upset because the continuous flow of food has disappeared and you're suddenly taking the spoon in and out and in and out. When you put the spoon in, they're like, oh, food, food, and they start sucking it. And then you pull the spoon out and they're like, no, where's my food gone? So these are fantastic. It's a squirt. So you fill this up with food and you hold it in your baby's mouth and you give it a squeeze and it fills up with some food. And you don't have to take it away. You keep it in at the baby's mouth and you give it another squeeze and some more comes out. This is fantastic for a baby that's screaming during eating solids because the food isn't coming fast enough. I think they're called a Boone Squirt. They are fantastic. Now remember, if you need to buy anything off the website today, if you spend over $80 between now and Friday, and if you put boy or girl in the promotion code, you will get a free Anyway Up cup, which are the best cups in the world. You'll get a free Anyway Up cup to try. But you have to put it in. The girls in the office aren't going to know to send you a cup if you don't put the promotion code in. It won't trigger it. The order will get packed without the cup. Make sure you're on the newsletter. The newsletter is on my website. Sign up to the newsletter from the website. Make sure you're on there so that you find out about free offers or products ending or anything like that. Okay. Rebecca says, my child has recently started rejecting all solids. I have tried combo feeding, baby-led weaning, spoon feeding, puree texture. He's drinking milk fine, 3 bottles a day of 240, which is recommended on the tin. Any tips to encourage him to eat solids? He is 9 months old. Okay, so if he's 9 months old, you need to be reducing the 2 feeds in the middle of the day to 120 mils. So you need to do a feed at 7 in the morning of 240 or until he's full. Never give him a set amount. It sounds like you're giving him a set amount of 240 mils. Never give him a set amount. Make sure he's on stage 1 formula if it's formula. Give him 240 or more. If he takes the 240, give him 260. If he takes 260, give him 280 in the morning at 7 o'clock. And then try his solids at 8:30 if he's not taking them at 8. The 11 o'clock bottle, or roughly 11 o'clock, only do 120, and the same for the 3-ish bottle. And if he's still refusing solids, check he doesn't have an ear infection, he doesn't have a sore throat, etc. And I would just keep trying. If he totally refuses, you'll need to talk to your maternal health nurse about maybe cutting out some of the milk feeds. And if that doesn't work, Rebecca, consider joining the online advice area where we can give you more specialised one-on-one help. Nicole says, I have a 9-week-old with terrible reflux and snacks as when he has a full bottle he vomits. Okay, well, if your 9-week-old is snack feeding, so not feeding every 4 hours, the reflux is going to get worse and worse and worse. So, Nicole, you really need to pop him on a routine and not snack feed. If he vomits, if you feed him a full bottle at, say, 7 o'clock in the morning and he vomits, the next feed him 20 mils less, and the next feed 20 mils less until you find the magic number of what you can feed him every 4 hours that he doesn't vomit. Do not keep feeding him more often than 4 hourly, or you're going to make the reflux worse. Bernadette says she's watching. Hi, Bernadette. Mrs. Bomford, I should call you. You gave Kieran a lovely book when he was born, and or maybe for his first birthday, I can't remember, but Swaddle Waddle or Waddle, about it. And there's a train driver, and he thinks the train driver is called Mark, who's our friend, is a train driver, and we love the book, so thank you very much. Beck says, unsure how much amounts I should offer. Well, Beck, in the feeding book, one of the things that people say they love about the feeding book is that it says at 6 months you should give this much, at 7 months this much, at 8 months this much. So you'll find the feeding book really good for ideas on that. Brody says, I'm going to Europe when my little one is 4 months. Should I start her on rice cereal when we're away, or start solids when we come home? I would get there and I would start them while you're away at about 4.5 months. I wouldn't delay it till 5 months, because I think your trip will be better if your little one is settled. I think if you delay it, you might end up with a baby who's got headaches. Babies get headaches when their iron drops at about 18 weeks. So I think you'd end up with a restless, unhappy baby. So I would start while you are away. And you could start with just some very basic, you'll be able to get very, very good quality, just pureed apple or pureed carrot in pots in Europe. I would try, you probably won't want to make your own while you're away, so you could try that, or maybe get some before you leave so that you know what's in it. Get it before you leave. Shaylee says she's in Victoria Point, Brisbane. I commented the other day about my son waking early and sleeping on his belly. Last night he slept on his back until 7 a.m. Yay! Shaylee, that is so fantastic. When I hear of people who've watched my newsfeed and their baby has gone from sleeping on its tummy to sleeping on its back, I do care, but I don't care that your baby slept till 7 a.m. I care that your baby slept on its back. Your baby has gone from sleeping on its tummy to sleeping on its back. That just makes me the happiest person in the whole world. And all the time I spend talking on the news feeds, and all the time I spend away from my children working, it makes it so worthwhile to think that your baby has changed from a tummy sleeper to a back sleeper. So thank you so much for telling us that. Susan Clarkson said, just started my bub on solids. She doesn't really like it. How long should it take for her to like it? Probably it can take a week or 2 weeks for them to like it, so I keep persisting. What quantity should she be eating during the weaning stage? Well, she can eat anything from a teaspoon to 10, 20 teaspoons. Again, that's all in the feeding book, Suzanne. It's all in the feeding book, so hopefully you can have a look in there. When should I change my 10-month-old from 4 bottles to 3? Well, we don't, Katie. We change from four full bottles to 2 full bottles and 2 half bottles. That's on the routines, and it's in the feeding book. Right, that's it, guys. I'm not going to take any more questions, so please don't put any more up. I'm going to read out the couple that are here, but I'm not going to take any more. The phones are ringing, the live chat's going, and I think the girls need some help in the office, so I'm not going to take any more, so don't put any more up. Kylie says, Bianca says, I've started your approach for solids. My baby's 4 months old. Every attempt he cries and fusses until we stop. I've tried rice cereal a few times, pear, apple and carrot. You could try the Boon Squirt. It might be he's not getting it quick enough. Or you could just keep persisting. Try a little bit 3 times a day and eventually he'll take it, Bianca. Kylie says, my 7.5-month-old still likes 2 breastfeeds during the night. He's on solids 3 times a day. When will this reduce? Kylie, if you're a 7.5-month-old that's having 3 breastfeeds a night, I would guess that you're 2 breastfeeds a night. I would guess that your 7.5-month-old either cannot self-settle, so you're feeding too close to bedtime, and your child's using the feed to get to sleep, or the other thing that could be happening is you might not have enough bedding. So if your 7.5-month-old is sleeping on their back with their face and head uncovered, please follow the bedding guide. It could, in New South Wales, it's roughly 12 to 15 blankets at this time of year. In Victoria, it's definitely 15 blankets in a room of 20 degrees. So Kylie, I would definitely be looking at your bedding and looking at how your child is going to sleep in the first place. Maybe you're feeding too close to sleep time, or maybe you're not on my routine, or maybe your child has got a dummy. So we need to look at all of that. I don't know how to say your name. Latinia, I think it is, says, love your advice. Have followed your routines with my baby girl since she was 4 months old. Your book was a lifeline. That's great to hear. Thank you. Okay, and then there's lots of thank yous. The last question is, Joanna says, when should I start solids? My baby was 6 weeks prem. She will be 5 months on the 23rd of this month. Joanna, I'm not going to try and answer that now. I'll let Kate or one of the other girls answer that. It's in the feeding book. I will put the little chart up for you so that you know. I'm not going to try and answer it in case I get it wrong and in case other people listen and are confused and think I'm saying it about their baby. So we will answer you, but just not live on air. Okay, thanks everybody for listening. Remember, you have to sign up for the newsletters and you have to read them. Otherwise, you will miss the promotions and then you'll be upset that you missed out when your friend gets something free and you didn't. And also things like the elephant retiring. So we have got these elephants in stock. If you've got a child that loves them, make sure you get your backups now. The new one will be coming into stock in about 3 weeks. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye. Thanks for watching.